being official has led to some decisions being made for the Chicago Bulls as well as the other teams involved. The Bulls waived Torrey Craig and old friend Chris Duarte as they look to continue to figure out their next steps. And Sam Smith of Bulls.com, author of Jordan Rules book, who's covered the Bulls for 40 years, joins us to break all this down. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Good to talk to you.
Sam, let's start here. What would you say, just from the outside looking in, to give us kind of a view into it? What do you think the Bulls' vision is right now, looking at what they got back in the trade as they get Trey Jones, Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 pick back? What's the Bulls' vision right
now? Blurry. It's finally, and I'm not a huge fan of those things. It's sort of a blow it up, pick a lane kind of thing about, nobody likes to call them rebuilds these days, but, they kind of ran out the string with these guys. And, the players they got, I assume they'll try to move if they can, include them in deals, try to pick up draft picks. We've all seen sort of that routine, hoping to get lucky. Cooper Flag, they actually got a pretty good rookie. Buzelis in this draft actually slipped around 10 or 11, wherever they picked. And it looks like he'll be a good player. They tried to keep this thing going a couple of years, but Zach had some injuries, not major. And I will say, those two guys, Zach and DeMar, are two of the best people I've been around in basketball. They're both really, now fans only care if they can play well.
Right.
And I think Zach particularly has been probably as underappreciated as any player in the league. He is really good. You'll see some of the best shot making you've ever seen. And I know the Kings have been interested a long time. They offered him they gave him an offer sheet in 2018, I think it was, at the Bulls match when he was restricted free agent. And then he had some minor things, compared to the major thing he had. But that's another thing. He had ACL surgery in 2017 with Minnesota right before the trade to Chicago initially. And nobody in the history of the game has ever come back from ACL surgery with the explosiveness of Zach.
Yeah.
He could be in the dunk contest again. And, we've seen him do it a couple of times, but he's as undervalued a player in the NBA as there is. And if you see his numbers this year, I think you'll see how good they've been.
Talking to Sam Smith of Bulls.com. Sam, were you surprised, and you kind of answered this just with the Kings being a part of this conversation with the offer sheet to LaVine, but were you surprised at all at where LaVine eventually went? I know there are some Warrior fans that thought that he would end up out there in the Bay Area. Were you surprised at where he ended up, or did you feel like Sacramento was always in play because they're just kind of always interested in Zach LaVine?
Yeah, I think that was one element. The previous interest, Zach's name has been mentioned, in connection with Sacramento before. But I think it was the De'Aaron Fox thing. I don't think it would have occurred, because, for whatever's been going on here in Chicago with Zach and management, and, there's been some underlying stuff that I don't fully understand. And probably has to do with he was part of the previous regime and then management changed, and it becomes our guys and their guys kind of thing. And
right.
So they've been trying to move Zach actually for a couple of years, for the most part, and the deal wouldn't have been possible until Fox, and I don't know what he did, if he made a trade demand or they realized they weren't going to be able to sign him or what happened. I don't know what happened, there with you guys, with him. But the Bulls needed somewhere to offload Zach's salary. 40-some million, and that was the anchor for them. They got a max contract a few years ago, and they couldn't do anything with Golden State because they just didn't have the numbers.
Right.
And it looked like they had a deal with the Lakers actually about a month ago, and it seemed, from what I heard, it was pretty close. And then the Lakers didn't want to take on the money and traded for Finney Smith. And now, obviously, it's worked out since they ended up with Doncic.
Yeah.
So maybe they knew at the time that was part of it. Why it didn't go through. But they needed some big salary to move somewhere. And then once the Aaron Fox got in play, then I think it smoothed the path for it.
Sam Smith, Bulls.com. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get you out of here, there are people calling the Kings the Sacramento Bulls, right? Because now you got DeRozan, and now you have obviously Zach LaVine. There are a couple pieces. Obviously we have Sabonis, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk. Do you think that and we hope that the Kings make another move, but do you think that the Sacramento Bulls can make any noise in this Western Conference, or will this just end up being an eventual rebuild as well?
No, I actually think they can. They have to make a couple of moves, and people in Sacramento wouldn't be naturally aware. But this group with DeRozan, LaVine, and Sabonis is sort of a Vucevic.
Right. Right.
I can understand why they see it that way. They were leading the Eastern Conference when they got put together. They had the best record in the East going into just right before the All-Star break, and what was it, 21-22 season. And then Lonzo Ball got hurt.
Right.
I could fix the Kings, if they would let me. Actually, they should try to they can't get him now, but, they should add somebody like Lonzo Ball because they need a point guard and they need a defensive player. And that's been the blind spot with the Kings. I watched them a lot this year, a lot because of DeMar. They've been offensive team, and then they picked up DeMar, who was a more offensive player. They didn't need him,
right,
but they need some defense. But if you could get, a guy like Lonzo Ball, and he looks like he's going to be healthy and coming back, it's remarkable. And then if you could get a 4, kind of like a Nick Claxton or Isaiah Stewart, some physical defensive guy to support Sabonis, that team could be a competitor in the Western Conference on the top. They just need a couple of defensive pieces to support, Zach and DeMar and the Sabonis, in which the Bulls were. The Bulls were leading the Eastern Conference before Lonzo got hurt. So that formula is possible. They just need a couple of the peripheral pieces.
Sam Smith, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck to your Chicago Bulls. He's covered the Bulls for 40 years, Bulls.com, author of Jordan Rules book. Sam, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Good luck. Say hello to DeMar and Zach are both wonderful people.
Will do. Thank you so much. That was Sam Smith. On the other side, we hand out grades for the trades. We give you some updates on Zach LaVine. Okay, he will be, or it appears that he will be joining the Kings on Wednesday, and you could be in the building as well with that ticket giveaway when we return. I'm trying to give a heads up to those on the Sactown Sports app as well. So hopefully this is enough of a lead up. So when we come back, we will do that ticket giveaway. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Breaking Sacramento Kings news. The Aaron